Jaya Giri Vada Dari. Gopinath, can you help? Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Giri Vardadari. Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Jaya Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnuvad Paramhamsa Parajikacharya Stotra Shachi His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narom Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayashta Badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. And by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed in loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs. Uttama Shloka is established as an irrevocable fact. We are in the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam and chapter 9 of the 4th canto, creation of the 4th order, which I think means Visarga in Sanskrit. Prabhupada named some of the cantos after the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. And so there's creation, Sarga, and Visarga, which is he titled chapter 4 or canto 4, and we're in chapter 9. Dhruva Maharaj returns home, and we have a verse without a purport, 51, which I'm just going to read, and then 52 we can all do it together. Tam shasham surjana rajnim dishyate putra artiha pratilabdash chiram nashto rakshita mandalam bhuva. The residents of the palace praised the queen. Dear queen, your beloved son was lost long time ago, and it is your great fortune that he has now come back. It appears, therefore, that your son will be able to protect you for a very long time and will put an end to all your material pangs. Now we're on text 52. Abhyarchitas tvaya nunam Bhagavan Pranatartiha. Can maybe make it a little bit bigger. Yad anudhyayino dhira mrityum jigyu sudurjayam abhyarchitas tvaya nunam Bhagavan Pranatartiha Yad anudhayo dhira mrityum jigyu sudurjayam abhyarchitas tvaya nunam Bhagavan Pranatartiha Yad anudhyayino dhira mrityum jigyu sudurjayam. Dear devotees, Bhagavan Pranatartiha Yadanujayino dhira mrityum jigyu sudurjayam abhyarchita tvayanunam Bhagavan panatartiha yad anujayino dhira mrityum jigyu sudurjayam abhyarchitaha worshipped tvaya by you nunam however Bhagavan the Supreme Personality of Godhead Jai Pranata Artiha who can deliver his devotees from the greatest danger Yat whom Anujayinaha constantly meditating upon Dhiraha great saintly persons Mrityum death Jigyuhu conquered Sudurjayam which is very very difficult to overcome. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Dear Queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead who delivers his devotees from the greatest danger. Persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. Responsive translation. Dear Queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead who delivers his devotees from the greatest danger. Persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. Dhruva Maharaj was the lost child of Queen Suniti, but during his absence, she always meditated upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is able to rescue his devotees from all danger. While Dhruva Maharaj was absent from his home, not only did he undergo severe austerities in the forest of Madhuvan, but at home also his mother prayed to the Supreme Lord for his safety and good fortune. In other words, the Lord was worshipped by both the mother and the son, and both were able to achieve the supreme benediction from the Supreme Lord. The word Sudurjayam, an adjective which just indicates no one can conquer death, is very significant. When Dhruva Maharaj was away from home, his father thought he was dead. And ordinarily a king's son, 5 years old, and away from home in the forest would certainly be supposed dead. But by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only was he saved, but he was blessed with the highest perfection. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Turubhischa Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate giram yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paranamda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Before speaking, there's practically every devotee in here is senior to me, especially Archita Prabhu, Krishna Kripa Prabhu. So please pray for me that I can become purified and speak some pleasing words for the benefit of all. Thank you everyone also for coming to the Bhagavatam class and thereby engaging me in service. Prabhupada says preach to the four walls, but it's more enlivening when there's actually devotees to talk to or people to talk to and communicate with. So thank you for doing me that great favor. The first verse, the residents of the palace praised the queen. Your beloved son was lost a long time ago, and it is a great fortune that he has now come back. It appears, therefore, that your son was able to protect you for a very long time and will put an end to your material pangs. Dear queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who delivers his devotees from the greatest danger. Persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. So, it says that the maidservants are chanting these prayers, but they must be pretty enlightened maidservants because they're spouting all kinds of wisdom, and they see already that Suniti and Dhruva Maharaj are like beyond birth and death. Somehow they can tell, at least by what they're saying here, it seems like that. And so they're saying the Supreme Lord is delivering his devotees from the greatest danger. And so we heard here in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the first things that are said in the beginning, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Swalpam, and Prabhupada quoted this a lot, Swalpam apiyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So, like when we teach people what is mantra, do you know what mantra means, Michael? Mantra? No. What is mantra? What is man? Mana. Your mind. And what does tra represent according to our, I'm sure there's many explanations. Sanskrit is a multifaceted language, and I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but this is a common thing that we hear when we're explaining. Like, if you ever had to explain someone, we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and they ever ask, what is a mantra? What do you tell them? Mind-freeing tool. Yeah, so tra means triyate. So that's also in this verse, trayate, which means deliver. So the mantra is a tool for the mind a tool to deliver yourself from your mind, or to deliver your mind. And so a little advancement in Krishna consciousness, which in reality is just making the mind focus on Krishna, man mana bhava mad bhakto, mind, body, and words, making the whole consciousness focus on Krishna. A little bit of increasing that, what does that do? Trayate mahato bhayat. So who knows what bhaya means? Okay, quit calling out, class nerd. Wait, what is it? Teacher's pet. So if you make a little advancement in Krishna consciousness, like saying, dear queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Lord. Somehow that they can tell that she has the perfection. It's kind of getting a spoiler actually for us that are, if you're reading the Bhagavatam for the first time, you don't know that when Dhruva Maharaj is going back home back to God, and then he's asking, where's my mother? And then he looks, and there's another airplane going to have a transcendental destination that he sees his mother jumping on. And it's said there that Dhruva Maharaj stepped over death. And so somehow this mystical maidservant knows all this, or is like indicating this. And so she's saying, persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. So all of us as aspiring bhaktas, as aspiring bhakti yogis, our goal is to be saved from this greatest fear. What's the greatest fear? Mahato bhayat. I was saying bhaya means fear. Maha means big, like Maha Mantra, right? The biggest mantra. So what's the biggest fear, the greatest fear? Well, from a point, biggest fear for a devotee who's trying with their everything to always remember Krishna, and that's their goal, then of course they don't ever want to forget Krishna. And indeed, forgetting Krishna will lead you to the greatest fear, but they generally, Prabhupada says the greatest fear when he's describing this verse in Bhagavad Gita is that to lose the human form and to lose all your progress, all your memory, and be born in the animal kingdom. And so persons who constantly meditate upon surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. So our goal is to constantly be thinking about Krishna, to have our mind always on Krishna. Indeed, all of the shastras and all the rules and all the practices and all the things we're doing is just to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. It's all about that. Even now, we're having Bhagavat Pravachan in the temple, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And why are we hearing it? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is about Krishna, and it's about other devotees interacting with Krishna, and so we can engage our mind to deeply connect with Krishna. And hearing about Krishna is one of the best ways to be able to remember Krishna. I mean, if you didn't hear about Krishna from anyone, you wouldn't have much to remember. And so in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in Nectar of Devotion, it's said that that bhakti, when we start practicing it, that bhakti has 6 characteristics. And because we're talking about the maidservant, she must have read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu somehow, because she also knows this perfection is very difficult to achieve. So one of the perfections, or the qualities of bhakti, is sudurlabha, very rare. But I just wanted to go through the other ones, because it's always nice to hear the words of Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami and remember these things, because also whatever they're giving us will help us remember Krishna. And bhakti, which is basically us always remembering Krishna. Kleshagni is the first characteristic. It means, klesha means like difficulties or suffering. And so it means the removal of that suffering. So Prabhupada's explaining how we all have these seeds of sin that will sprout later, and we have the current prarabdha karma, the manifested karma that we have, and we have the avidya, the ignorance that will lead us to accruing more sins. And when you begin bhakti, your seeds of your sin are baked in the oven, so they never can sprout. Your current prarabdha karma is minimized to the most. Some acharyas say that it's not the reason why when we first chant Hare Krishna purely the first time, our bodies don't completely disappear. It's because still a little bit of our prarabdha karma is there. But then by learning devotional service and practicing it, our avidya is completely cleared, and we become fully situated in reality, and therefore all the possibilities of suffering go away. So kleshagni is a very wonderful characteristic of bhakti. And then the next is subhada, shubhada. Shubha means good, and da means giving. So it gives goodness, and the acharyas describe that. First, we become compassionate for everyone, especially in Krishna consciousness given by Srila Prabhupada. As soon as we join, Prabhupada's, even though you maybe started chanting Hare Krishna the day before, Prabhupada's saying, okay, now go out there and distribute this Krishna consciousness to others. If you're getting something good about it, then show compassion to others. Jiva doya Krishna dam sarva dharma sar, Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells us that Jiva doya, what does that mean, Michael? Jiva, what does that mean? A soul. Doya, what does that mean? Mercy. So Jiva doya means giving mercy to others. Krishna nam, what does that mean? That's it. I'll give you that. That's a light one. Krishna nam. the holy name of Krishna. Jiva Doya Krishna Dam Sarva Dharma Sar. This Mathura, you probably know what that means. Sarva Dharma Sar. Sarva Dharma. It means all religion, Sar, the essence. So the essence of all good conduct, of all Dharma, is to be merciful, be compassionate to others by chanting the holy name and by taking the holy name ourselves. It says charity starts from home, right? And then the second quality, everyone loves them. Shubhada. Devotional service brings compassion that we have compassion for everyone, and everyone also begins to love the devotee. It's said about the Srila, who wrote Sadgut Swami Astakam? My brain is farting right now. Yeah, who wrote that? It was Acharya, Srinivas Acharya. So here, in there he says, Dira Dira Jana Priyo Priya Karo Nirmatsaro Pujito. So Dira. So the Diras, like the nice people, and the Diras, the ruffians. It's like you change the length of the letter, it changes the meaning of the word. So they're just like an ocean of love of Godhead, and they're popular with both the gentle and the ruffians because they're not envious of anyone. So when you begin to practice Krishna consciousness, your matsarya, your natural, in the material world it's natural, it's actually unnatural for the soul, but in our false condition, we have this matsarya, this envy towards others, and that's all completely cleared away when we realize we're all related with everyone in our relationship with Krishna. And so without any envy, someone becomes very likable. Generally, everyone's envious with other ones, seeing their neighbors and, how can I do better than them? But when a devotee actually develops this nirmatsarya, then everyone loves them, just like the Goswamis. Everyone. And through practicing devotional service, so many good qualities are developed. And the devotee also develops happiness, which is another quality that describes the happiness. But we'll get to that. It's the last pair. There's 3 pairs of qualities that have to do with bhakti. Then, after the devotee reaches from sadhana bhakti to bhava bhakti, there's 2 more qualities: moksha laghuta krit and sudurlabha. So mokshada laghuta krit is that moksha, which is liberation, which is something that many yogis and siddhis and people are trying to attain, is thought then to be the devotee actually looks down on it. Like that's like something less. Like I'd have to, instead of everyone looking up, that's at the top of the building, the devotee's like, I would have to climb down to go to that. Like that would be, people, when they like take acid or something and they go on a trip, then you come down, then I was high, and now I'm low. But a devotee, their consciousness and their feeling is so high already, we're naturally high, stay high forever, that they see going down to just mere liberation as less. And then of course sudurlabha, extremely rare. And the last 2 qualities in prema bhakti are sandrananda visheshatma, super intense condensed happiness. The devotees in our shastras declare like Brahman realization for the duration of, like if you get samadhi, it's very blissful. Chapter 6 of Gita talks about how blissful someone that has attained samadhi is experiencing. And there's one verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that says, even if you had samadhi for half the lifetime of Lord Brahma, and you could quantify that into like an ocean of happiness, you would have to condense that ocean all down into a drop, and a drop of happiness of actual prema, and even it still wouldn't really compare. And then of course there's Sri Krishna Karshini, that bhakti is the thing that attracts Krishna. Krishna is the all attractive. He attracts everyone, and he's completely situated as the controller and enjoyer and of everything. But bhakti is that thing that attracts him. So this maidservant who's talking here is saying that persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. So, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. That, who knows the meaning of this verse? Who knows what chapter of Bhagavad Gita this verse is from? It's not from 4. Oh, Krishna Kripa. Krishna Kripa has the whole Bhagavad Gita memorized, so he's kind of cheating. So this is from 7, in the kind of beginning of 7:3. Prabhupada quoted this verse a lot. It's in the, if you search on Google, you can find a list of Prabhupada's most quoted verses, and it has it listed in order, and that's like a nice list. And so, Mahnushanam sahasreshu, out of thousands and thousands of men, kaschid yatati siddhaye, hardly one will try for perfection. We see that in New York. Does everyone see, we see thousands of men in New York, men and women and people, and they and them. I mean, it's 2025, I guess. But how many of them are actually trying for perfection? I mean, they may be trying for perfection in their own different ways, trying for perfection in their job, trying to make a lot of money, or in their different relationships, or, whatever, trying to be a cool person living in New York. But out of thousands of them, hardly one is endeavoring for perfection. So we see there are some people going to yoga studios, trying to do this, trying to practice meditation, and we meet them and we see them on the street. And some people come here. And then out of thousands of them, yatatam api siddhanam, hardly kaschin mam veti tatvata, hardly one gets perfection, and out of them, hardly one even knows Krishna in truth. So we want to talk about this rareness of devotional service. Like Yugal Kishore Prabhu always says, devotional service is simple, always remember Krishna, but it's not easy, like it's here. It's extremely difficult and extremely rare. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when it's talking about Sudurlabha, it's saying without attachment to service, then we won't get to the goal of our sadhana. We're in sadhana, we're trying to be in sadhana bhakti, and sadhana bhakti leads to bhava bhakti, and bhava bhakti leads to prema bhakti. And so if we don't get to the level of ashakti, which means we have complete attachment to our service, then it won't ever lead to the goal of our sadhana, which is bhava. And even with asakti, even with attachment to our service, that it still takes time. It's still, Krishna's mercy has to take time, and he doesn't easily give the perfection, because if someone has the perfection of bhakti, then that means they can control Krishna. So Krishna is very requisite to give that. In the Brahma Samhita, it describes this, that the highest devotion, this is at the end, when Brahma had just said everything to glorify Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda. So Lord Brahma just sang his beautiful verses, and then says Bhagavan then gave some shlokas, gave her some response to him. And so this is one of the responses. And he's telling Lord Brahma, the highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. So we have scriptural evidence, like we get the help of the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and all the books that Srila Prabhupada translated, and all the books that we come in contact with when we join devotional service, when we start to practice, especially the Bhagavatam. That's why Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Every single day we try to hear from the Bhagavatam for at least an hour. That's should be a foundation of our life. That's why we have this Bhagavatam schedule. Then through theistic conduct. So then we see what is the conduct of the pure devotees, of the sadhus, and especially of our great, like the Ragatmika devotees, the residents of Vrindavan. What is their conduct? And then for us, with the perseverance in practice, we learn Shastra and we receive Harinam, and it says practice means by trying to learn these things and practice these things and serve Harinam day and night continuously. So we should always be chanting. Like Prabhupada says, 16 rounds on the beads and unlimited rounds off the beads. So it's said many times when one is trying to practice a mantra that the perfection will come when the mantra can't stop. Even when your fixed time of chanting the mantra is over, the mantra keeps going through whatever activities that are happening. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also, he had different levels. If we hear from Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, it explains how he has different levels of expectation for the different devotees. But for a devotee that was fully engaged in preaching, he expected them to chant at least 16 rounds, and then with whatever he was doing throughout the day, they should constantly be chanting the mantra. And so as devotees, if we're chanting 16 rounds nicely, then whatever other service we're always listening to or chanting Hare Krishna or hearing lectures, then eventually we probably are, like it's a kind of tough statement in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that's saying, Lord Chaitanya doesn't accept the service of someone who is in a lakpati. And lakpati doesn't mean that you have $100,000. It means that you have 100,000 names. But if we're chanting the entire day, 18 hours minus 6 or 7, 17 or 18 hours minus 6 or 7 hours for sleep, then actually easily everyone can get up to that quota. 16 rounds is around 25,000 names. And so if you chant 16 rounds 4 times, then it's 64 rounds. Some devotees do that. But even if we're fully engaged in preaching, if you're preaching, you're distributing books, I know many devotees that you're giving a book to someone, and as soon as you're done talking to them, you're just chanting, oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You're praying to the Lord, send me the next person, help me what to say. And so in that way, many more rounds are actually chanted. And one time they criticized Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. They're trying to criticize some disciples. And they say, he's not chanting his quota of 64 rounds. He's not chanting his quota. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, actually, he's chanting the prescribed quota. I can see it, but you cannot. So he could tell who was actually focused and always remembering Krishna and who wasn't. So we need attachment to our service. We need strong determination. We need enthusiasm. Utsan Nishtaya Daryat, like Rupa Goswami teaches us in his 11 nectarian verses trying to describe all things, Upadeshamrita. Utsahan Nishtaya Daryat Tatat Karma Pravartanat Sangotyagat Satovrite Sadvir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. If we want Bhakti Prasiddhi, we want Siddha in Bhakti, perfection, then we need enthusiasm. Without enthusiasm or determination in anything, but especially Bhakti, like we're trying to put this in our life, put this on our mind, make our mind always focus on Krishna, the mind will get lazy, the mind will be our enemy. We'll find ourselves sleeping during japa, like not attentive during the class. We'll find ourselves even sometimes sleeping and spaced out during the kirtan. So where does this enthusiasm come from? We need strong faith. Ultimately it comes from association with those who have it. But we need to remember that this process, we need strong enough faith that we can persevere, because the process is not completely overnight. This perfection is very difficult to achieve, and it's attained by slow progress, slow, consistent progress. And in this regard, Prabhupada quotes a commentary given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the 6th canto about the story of the bird in the ocean. And in that commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he's saying we should have this mood. Though I can't attain it quickly, certainly I can attain it. And so with this, the verse that Krishna says, Anirvina Chaitasa, that your Chaitasa, your mind, your consciousness should be certain that I don't have it now, but I'm certain I can actually attain that. If you don't think you can attain the goal, then you'll never actually put your full heart into it. Like we were talking with Michael yesterday about just practicing mridanga. This is another kind of practice. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to put consistent effort into it. But if you don't think that you can ever actually be good at something, then you'll never actually invest the time and the consciousness and the energy needed to make any kind of advancement in there. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, one should not be discouraged. After such a long time, I have not achieved perfection. So what is the use of all this hard work? We may think that I'm waking up, I'm so tired, and I'm pushing myself to chant my rounds, and there's no taste, and I'm hearing Bhagavatam, but I don't have any understanding, and it seems like nothing, all these wonderful things that are described are not happening to me. I'm not making any progress. But we shouldn't have that attitude. We should have a more positive attitude. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, one should practice with the mind convinced. What is it to me? Let me attain perfection in this life or the next. And then he quotes from another Acharya. He's saying, one should gradually control the mind without complaining, though it is like taking drops of water from the ocean to dry it up with the tip of a kusha grass. So we have this ocean that we want to dry up, and all you have is a little piece of grass, and you just can one drop at a time like that. And so then with that background, then we get our famous story of the bird and the ocean. So there's a story to explain this. With its strong eggs, the ocean stole a bird's. With its strong waves, this ocean stole a bird's eggs, which were situated on the ocean shore. And determined to dry up the ocean, the bird took one drop of water at a time using its beak. The ocean, being emptied of many drops by the bird's beak, was not at all affected. Though discouraged by Narad, who happened to come there, which this is also, Narad Muni seems to come there at any time someone wants to try something with determination. So if Narad Muni hasn't come and discouraged you yet, then you practically haven't even begun. So you should try harder. Until someone tries to discourage you, then that's like actually Prabhupada said when the movement was starting to grow, the more adversaries we have, that means the better. That means we're actually growing. That means we're actually doing something good. If you're trying to do something and no one's even getting affected, no one's like trying to do anything like that, then you should just keep going. And then when that happens, you should know that's actually okay. We're making good progress. Like if anyone tries to do anything, okay, the friend's telling you, oh, why are you trying to, like Sumati Maharaji is telling Prabhupada, you're so old, it's going to be so cold there, what are you going to eat? You're an old man, you're going to die over there, like don't go. Like if Prabhupada, he had tried actually so much to get to that point, getting all his visas ready and all his documents. And then, he hadn't reached the perfection of actually getting to America and accomplishing his mission. But so many people were talking against him. But he was a perfect example of someone that's so, just like this bird, so determined to reach their goal. So the bird said, Narad Muni, I don't care. In this life or the next, I will dry up the ocean. And so, of course, Narad Muni, very merciful, just like with Dhruva Maharaj, he sent Garuda to help the bird. So he told Garuda, this ocean has disrespected you by offending your relative, this small little bird. So Narad Muni is perfect at egging on the different pastimes. Oh Kamsa, I must warn you that so many demigods are taking birth in the family of the Yadus, and you don't know which one it could have been already born as the eighth son. You don't know which way you're counting. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or any other combination? So therefore, you should be very careful, with all these children born. That's all I have to say. Goodbye now. And then Kamsa is freaking out, and so he ends up killing all the children of Devaki and Vasudev, just to push on the pastime so they'll come more. So here he's also helping the bird, bringing Garuda, egging him on. And so then of course Garuda just has to flap his wings a few times, and he's so strong he can dry up the ocean. And then so the ocean became frightened, and of course at that time then the ocean listened. We try to talk to the ocean, we don't even know the ocean's a person, because it won't respond to us, it won't listen to us. But when a personality like Garuda comes, then things get serious, and not only does it respond, but it does exactly what Garuda wants him to do. So thus one should be convinced that the Lord will bestow His mercy on the resolute person who enthusiastically begins bhakti. with faith. So we should read the scriptures, we should read and see the example of devotees, and what we hear we should think, yes, I can do this. And so our goal, although it's difficult and rare, we can get it by such good enthusiasm, like Rupa Goswami is saying, sato vrite, following the examples that others have given, following the paths of the Mahajans, following the paths of the pure devotees. We need just them existing helps us, just knowing their activities. That's why we're hearing the Bhagavatam, by the way, because we're hearing about sato vrite, we're hearing about how the great pure devotees live their life, so that we can accordingly live ours. And so the ultimate example of this, persons who constantly meditate upon Krishna, surpassing the course of birth and death, achieving a perfection which is very difficult and rare to achieve, are the residents of Vrindavan. They're the perfect Ragatmika devotees, and they're always intensely absorbed and deeply attracted to Krishna. Krishna says, and he's probably thinking about them when he says this, Yoginam api sarvesham matgan teranteratmana. The top yogi api sarvesham, is the one that's always engaged in thinking about me. Shadavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. And in that way, they're engaging all their activities, and they're the yukta tamo mataha. They're the uttama yukta, the ultimate yogi. So the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan, the gopas, the parental devotees, the servants, even the grass and the rocks and the trees, they all cannot forget Krishna. They're all constantly thinking of Krishna. And Krishna sent Uddhava. He sent Uddhava back to Vrindavan because he was away for a very long time, and he knew that all his devotees were becoming too much anxious in separation, too much pained in separation. So he wanted to cool them off because he was coming, but it would take a while until he would able to kill the last few demons. Because if Krishna then would go to Vrindavan and there were still demons, maybe the demons would attack Dwarka, or maybe they would realize that Krishna likes all the devotees in Vrindavan, so they would hurt the devotees in Vrindavan. So he was away from Vrindavan for so long until so in that time he sent Uddhava, his chief minister and Dwarka, and his pure devotee, one of the best devotees in the Bhagavatam. He sent Uddhava to help pacify them, but then also to teach Uddhava, to show Uddhava how intense the residents of Vrindavan are with Krishna. So Uddhava was coming there, and he was going to tell the gopis, oh yes, you can meditate on Krishna because it's not different than him being there because Krishna is the super soul. And so Uddhava's coming there trying to tell them about Krishna, and before he's able to say anything, Radharani sees this and starts addressing Uddhava as if actually she sees a bumblebee. Uddhava's standing there, and she sees a bumblebee, and they're all like amazed, like, who is this person that looks just like Krishna? And then she sees a bumblebee, and she starts indirectly talking to Uddhava by chastising this bumblebee, saying, your master is the same quality. You each go to a flower, you get a little honey, and then you fly away and you go to another. Don't try to cheat us by telling us about Krishna. We know all about his. We know all about his real character. You came to tell us about Krishna, but we know very well. We know more than you. Whatever you tell us about him will just be old stories to us. Now he's in the city and he has so many new girlfriends, so you should go glorify Krishna to those girls. You don't know actually how ungrateful and hard-hearted he is, not only in this life but previous lives as well. In his life as Ramachandra, he killed the monkey Vali just like a hunter kills an animal, although he should have fought him face to face. And then when Suparnika came and offered to get married, he was so henpecked to Sita Devi that he chopped her nose off. Thus in two ways he was deviating from his Kshatriya duties because of hard-heartedness. Then as a Brahmin boy, even though Bali Maharaj was so magnanimous and gave him everything, Krishna ungratefully arrested him and pushed him down the Patala kingdom. We know how bad Krishna is, but in spite of him being so cruel and hard-hearted, it is very difficult for us to give up talking about him. We gopis don't want any more friendship with this blackish boy, but we don't know how we should be able to give up remembering and talking about his pastimes and activities. So we're trying to learn and practice all these things, trying to always remember Krishna, trying to remember Bhagavad Gita shlokas, trying to just remember to do our service every day. And with the main thing. But the gopis, they're angry at Krishna sometimes, and they want to completely forget him, but even when they want to forget him, they can't. So Krishna says someone's who's always thinking of Krishna is the best yogi, but what about someone who can never forget Krishna? That's the best of the best of the best. I mean, there's no words for it. So we should follow in their footsteps, but then Prabhupada gives us a nice clarification. This is our goal, to think like the Brajavasis. But we must always remember, this is from Nectar of Devotion, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Vraj is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. So we need to be freed from our anarthas. That's why we do our bhakti, and our sadhana bhakti, and one of the first stages after engaging in sadhana is anartha nivritti. That in the following the regular principles of devotional service, there's a stage called anartha nivritti, which means the disappearance of material contamination. Prabhupada says, sometimes someone is found imitating such devotional love of the residents of Vraj, but factually he's not freed from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that so-called devotee proclaims himself a follower of Nanda, follower of Yashoda, or a follower of the gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. Such a manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the gopis, there will be no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. Therefore, in the beginning, everyone should strictly follow the regular principles of devotional service according to the injunctions of the scriptures and the spiritual master. And only after the stage of liberation from material contamination can one actually aspire to follow in the footsteps of the devotees in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada later shows that even if someone makes it to this perfectional stage, that one should always continue to act as a neophyte as long as one has the material body. So we should try to attend all these programs Prabhupada has given us. Someone mentioned today was Ganesh Chaturthi. It's not mentioned on the Vaishnava calendar, but Ganesh is the son of Lord Shiva and Parvati, which Shiva is the best Vaishnava, so the son of the best Vaishnava is also nice to remember. In our scriptures, there's not so much information about Ganesh. So I think just mentioning his name, that his day is sufficient to honor him. And there's about 4 minutes left. The queen is being told, "Dear queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who delivers his devotees from the greatest danger. Persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve." So we should all aspire to achieve surpassing the course of birth and death and being able to constantly meditate on the Lord. Like Krishna is telling us, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. And he says, if you can't do that, if you can't always purely love me and always think of me like my devotees in Vrindavan, then at least you should join the ISKCON temple and perform sadhana bhakti there and try to make advancement. But if you can't do that, then at least you should try to give something to help devotional service. Give some of your money that you're earning. And if you can't do that, for some reason or another, at least you should try to do something for someone else besides yourself. Don't be so selfish. And if you can't even manage that, at least you should try to cultivate knowledge. So like that, Krishna is a very wonderful teacher, and Prabhupada's a very wonderful teacher, and Queen Sunniti was a very wonderful teacher to her son. She prayed to the Lord, and that prayer, the devotional service, trying to just keep her son engaged in devotional service, it's indicating here that then she was also able to achieve the supreme benediction. Not to speak of when someone becomes a pure devotee, many back and forth, past and future generations become delivered. So I want someone else to say something. I don't know what else to say, but I don't feel like satisfied that this is the ending. So if someone could please give a nice ending.
that beautiful summary that Krishna gives at the end of the Brahma Samhita there, how that devotional service is attained by slow degrees by the process of theistic conduct and perseverance in practice, because it's a beautiful summary of what we're doing. It reminds us that it's not something we're going to get very soon, but we will get it if we persevere, and we have to follow the principles nicely. And it's very encouraging to hear Krishna himself, speaking about it there. So people hardly ever quote that section, which I really like. So thank you for doing that for us.
Yeah, it's at the end of one of the chapters of Gita where Krishna is saying there's people with different kinds of faith that maybe it's it'll take me too long to find it, but the essence of it is basically there's those that think that the process is real, but they can't attain the perfection. He's like, that's useless. And there's some that don't have faith in the process at all, and some that don't have even any faith in any shastra, in anything. So for them, it's also completely hopeless. So we should have faith in the process, and faith that it's a process that not only works with everyone, but it can also work on us. Then with that anirvina cetasa, our firm conviction, then we can actually have firm determination, and we can persevere for a long time. Om Tat Sat, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.